There you go. Hello, hello, hello. Is this thing on? Hello, hello. Is this thing working? I think we're on. Hello, chill computer guy. We got the Sunday night live stream going here. What are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about all kinds of random stuff. Basically, start off with drum techniques, where I always recommend putting your drums on separate tracks here. Let's go ahead and play this jam real quick. We'll get started. All right, so basically what we got is we separated our drums into separate tracks, like I was saying. Right here we have these extra MIDI lanes. We're putting shuffles in here. So these hi-hats, for example, if you solo these, mute these, and then drag these down, and kind of get a sense of what's going on with the shuffle. Then, of course, these hi-hats, if you can see that they're velocity. I like to kind of 1-2 the velocity, but then every third hi-hat, or in this particular measure, anyway, create some up and down variation, but every third hi-hat, maybe bring that above 100% or wherever your bass rate is, to bring that up, just to create more variation. Variation is super important with drums. Now, adding this shuffle in here, it's a hit or miss. That's why it's nice to add extra tracks in here. And then, like for this, add another track. You can put Mothership on here, right? Mothership. Okay, that's a kind of a cool groove I like here. So you go Mothership, you drag this down to the bottom, and then you can give that you go down the regroove, or the regroove mixer here. You see Mothership, that's an A2 right here. So then you just click this down to A2. Now you got a Mothership groove in there. So now you can drag this down to the Mothership. Oh God! Same with these kick patterns, you can just swap them out. Anyway, I don't really like Mothership. Mothership's a good groove, but you got to find the right thing for it. I actually like these just straight, these particular hats right here. And then you have the second part here, which again, we create a little variation in the kick pattern there. You get a little variation in there. And these velocities, which I actually haven't, yeah, these velocities got to be fixed. Like these accents, these got to come way down. These accents here. Got an accent there. Just bring those down a little bit. Again, create variation. It's important. Snare drum straight snare drum. I don't mess around with the snare drum. Depending on the genre, whatever. Some genres you're gonna have most genres you have a straight snare drum. You might variation in the snare drum there. Let's go ahead and take a look at this hi-hat pattern, which is kind of a little weird. Again, some variation, but we've taken two different hi-hats and kind of offset them. You know, I always recommend put 3, 4, 5, 6 hi-hats in there and create variations between them. You create a kind of a rushed feel that way, kind of more of an urgent, rushed kind of feel. Now right here in this drum pattern here, I just combine this all in the same MIDI grid. Again, we have a kick drum with some just massive variation in velocity. Kick drum, little accents here. We have a layered up snare drum here. Hi-hats, again, several different. We got 3 different hi-hats here. We have an open hi-hat there. And when you play this beat, it's all in the same MIDI lane, you know. It creates this kind of jarred, kind of, you don't know where the beat's going. It's kind of a broken beat, and that type of thing is I recommend making kind of an off tilt beat. You put a bass pattern with this. Let's put a bass pattern in here. See what's going on with the bass pattern here. And again, we got this at 57, so we're doing the 57. We could drag this down to the butter shuffle. Let's check out the butter shuffle, see what we can get there. Then we go down to mothership even. Go back to 57. But yeah, your regroove mixer, fill this thing up with grooves. That way, you know, you kind of create a bunch of MIDI lanes. Drag your MIDI. This mainly goes with just drum patterns and bass patterns. I mean, as far as top melodies and leads, I don't know, you just mess with that too much. But definitely with bass patterns, if you can use like short notes in your bass pattern, you know, definitely worth dragging out some shuffle, some MIDI lanes, and kind of trial and error on your shuffle. Don't forget you have 8 of these, and then you have 4 different banks. So that's like, what is that? 64 different shuffles you can throw in there, and then, you know, change it up. You just change it up right here. Pretty cool stuff. Yeah, so that's pretty much kind of part one of what I got going on here. Let's go ahead and loop this and see what we got. Super, yeah, super straightforward. Minimalism, super straightforward. You see where you got the BPM of 180? So I'm going halftime. So I'm basically going, what is that, 95, I think? 90? Yeah, so I'm basically at BPM 90. I'm going halftime. The thing about doing halftime is it allows you to kind of open up the beat a little bit, and it gives you a lot of room to put different accents in there. That's why I recommend halftime. So, figure out your tempo and then double it up here, and then just take your loops, and because normally this is like if you were to take this down to how many bars is this? We got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 16 bars. So if you were to take this down, hold control and drag this down to just 8 bars, right? That's actually your 180 tempo right there. It's super fast. Oh my God! Oh God! If you type in 90 here, right? And so that's pretty much. But so instead of doing that, you go 180, go tempo 180 and just stretch this beast out, hold control. This is something I love about Propellerhead Reason, the fact that you can just drag this out, hit control and then drag that out. Now you got your halftime, So basically what it's done is it's stretched all that out. So if you look at that on the inside here, let's put the Groove Mixer away. You can actually see that it's changed those, it's put those 16th notes into 8th notes and whatnot, so it's actually, what's great about this is a good way to put your hi-hats together. Just, put your hi-hats in, 8th notes, and then put them on the MIDI grid and stretch them out. You get all kinds of variation. A good way to get triplets on there too. Now the drum feel is all about the Kong. I have a love-hate relationship with the Kong. I really do. Ever since I put my own custom backdrop on here, I can bear to look at this thing now. So you have very, very beefy. You got some empty drums, and you got your snare. You can see each one of these has multiple hits. What I recommend that way, when you're playing your drum pattern, you can always change it up, right, real quick. Whoops. But yeah, so that's why I like setting up the drums that way, as far as putting multiple hits in each pad. I've always been a big fan of that, just because shit. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so I've always been a big fan of putting multiple hits on each drum pad. That way, when you are playing your MIDI notes, this is the whole question about what comes first, sound design or MIDI. In my opinion, put together your MIDI first, and then have that trigger your sound design. Because sound design to me just seems like abstract and in vain unless you're actually putting it in the context of the track. So that's why I pick out, some of my favorite drums, put multiple drums on each pad, and then you can always like put your rhythm, play your beat, play your whatever, your loop, and then switch it out as the loop is playing. You get a much better idea how the context is going to feel in the context of the song. Um, now, the big sound actually is coming from obviously I have my stuff split out into separate mix channels, which is what I always recommend. Let's open this all up here. This thing right here, this is something I've been messing with. I'm not really messing with it on this track. You can see it's bypassed. It's actually a pretty good little thing to use for hi-hat variation. But I don't know. This isn't in my top plugins. I've just been messing with it on this track. The MP5, I love this Kosa MP5. It's like a Pultec simulation. I love this EQ. So I just default snare drum, bass drum, drum overhead. I might put some slight alteration on this, but I probably just use this default or this presets and then create slight variation. But yeah, what's going on with this big sound is this FET compressor down here. What we got going is we got an auxiliary going into the FET compressor, and then we have the FET compressor returning up here to the mixer. Okay, so you see drums FET mix. This is basically a FET return right here. Now what's going on with that is each individual drum, as I turn up this auxiliary knob, it's going to send more of that signal to that FET compressor. And so by doing that, you get kind of a real beefy, kind of a parallel, New York compression type of dirtiness there. So you can hear, if I play this beat, see, that's just the return. So let's hear this. We're going to listen to the dry drums, then we're going to introduce the FET here. Okay, actually we're just going to turn it on, turn it up. Oh yeah, that's just the dirtiness you need. So yeah, I highly recommend. I'm meaning to do a little video tutorial, whatever you want to call it, on my top 10 REs in my opinion. There's certain ones that are must-have. This MP5 is one of them. These compressors, what is this? Mic DSP. Yeah, these Mic DSP compressors. There's a bundle. That's a must-have. These compressors are really, really good. And then the MP5, but I don't want to get into all that stuff. And look at this, we're looking at Europa. I'm actually digging into Europa. I have not upgraded to Reason 10 yet. I still have not done it. I don't know if I'm gonna do it actually, but well, let's kind of solo. I'll turn this all up. What I got going on here is this little side chain thing. It's called Pump. This is $20. This is the trial version. I'm probably gonna get this. This is a really handy thing. If you're gonna go 4/4, this is a really good way to just throw this on a sidechain bus, because if you're not going 4/4, if you don't have a 4/4 kick or whatever you're doing, like for dance music, if you're doing a more, a kick drum that has a little variation, this might not be the most useful tool, but it's still great to kind of get it. It's basically a modulator. It's going to modulate a 4/4, and then you can change this thing up, super cool. I mean, it's just, I love the visuals on it. It's a nice, compact, beautiful looking design. You can parallel with it too. And granted, you can't draw your own shape in, but there's a bunch of variation. It also has presets, so you can put but this is a really good way. If you're doing a 4/4, throw this on your sidechain bus and just use this sidechain, because it really, you can get a very, very clean cut signal here with this. And you also have, excuse me, you also have some tension, some floor, some variation. You know, you can give a little less. Yeah, ooh, that's a loud popping sound there. Let's put back to the 4 on the floor preset. Since I screwed that thing all up, I'm going to close that browser down. Okay, so anyway, that's that. Let's look at some more rhythm patterns here. This is just something that I was messing with as far as creating a rhythm variation. So put in your shuffles, you know, create some beats there. We got some more stuff we were working on over here. This is drum halftime. This is a more kind of a different kind of beat. Let's go ahead and listen to this. We'll talk about this a little bit. Again, it's kind of it's a little heavy there, but it's good to kind of build the most complex part of your drum rhythm and slowly drop parts out, change parts up. This is probably the most busiest part. And we just slowly drop stuff out, you know, we drop stuff out, and then eventually we you know, but I highly recommend, you know, if you're going to start out with your drums, your bass, which depending on what genre, what you're doing, where your head's at, you know, I've been working on drums first, but don't just throw a 4 on the floor. I mean, you could throw, you know, it depends on what kind of genre you're working on, but I really believe in like creating shitloads of MIDI lanes and put a crap load of different shuffles on there, play with the rhythm, you know, break these down. You know how you can do the F8 trick, explode, you know, super handy. It's going to put all these on separate MIDI lanes. Now you can mute them, pull them in and out. And I know I've discussed that in the past quite a bit, but yeah, play with your rhythms a little bit, you know. Next up, this live cast is going to be a half hour, so I don't want to. Oh my God, we're at 24 minutes. Holy shit! All right, next up, we're going to close this guy down, and next up, vocal processing. That's what we're going to talk about next. We have a track here. And play this here. It's going to be loud. Hey, so obviously this is out of the ball. This is just this mix is fucked pretty good, but it's loud, it's obnoxious. But the whole point of this was just the vocal processing. I got 4 different tracks for the vocal. I'm no singer, but you can layer your vocals in a way that sounds pretty cool. Coming on down on the outside, on the side, giving a long night. I can't see it anymore, my love. Waste of time, a day, sunlight. Coming on down on the outside, feeling on the side, digging a long night. I can't see it anymore, my love. Waste of time, a day, sunlight. Coming on down on the outside. So here's what we got. We have a main, wherever the MIDI or the okay, so track Vox, super disorganized here. So track Vox is where we're starting at, which is right here. So this is the main vocal track right here. Let's here, I'm gonna put these horizontal so you can see what's going on here. Put this guy over here. Jesus Christ, what the fuck? Anyway, I'm trying to make this so we can put it on the screen at the same time. It's not letting me. What kind of bullshit is that? Come on, really? Is it because they're parallel so they won't let me move this over? This is bullshit. Anyway. So what we have is we have a main vocal track. We have a Neptune in there. We have a scream. So basically what I do is I try to make just the single track sound good, and then I parallel it multiple times. Got the Cakewalk. I love this. This is a must-have compressor for vocals. But I have this going through the rotary, which is kind of an interesting thing here. So I got this track going through the rotary here. I can't see it anymore, my love. Waste of time, a day, sunlight. Coming on down on the outside. And then the rest of it, the mess of it is basically EQing. I put a high shelf. So normally I would name these. I got a vocal track high, a vocal track mid, vocal track low, and then a vocal track effects maybe. And then also what I like doing is let me see if I have an example of it in this track. So we have a couple of high shelves there, which are blended. And it's all a blend. Once you have usually what I do is 4, this is only 3 tracks, so I usually do 4 vocal tracks, and you can blend them with the sliders, obviously. Do parallels, and then I also like to take this Neptune and do a voice synth. I thought I had that in this track, but maybe not. Oh yeah, right here. No voice synth. I don't know where that is coming from, but I can't see it anymore, my love. Waste of time, a day, sunlight. Coming on down on the outside, feeling on the side, digging all night. So you have a lot of auto-tune type of effect. You know, auto-tune's an effect, isn't it? Isn't auto-tune an effect now? Anyway, so all together it's just kind of... Anyway, that's kind of a shit song from the past, but it has a good example of kind of vocal processing. Do we have any time? Oh, we're at 29:53. We're done. We're done. That's it. That's all I got.